Well, hello, Natalie.
Hello.
Welcome to Bristol. I think you've been here for a while, and you've been here before, I gather.
I have, yes. I used to live here in Surrey, actually.
All right.
So it's nice to be back.
When was that? How long ago?
7 years ago, I used to live here
Yes.
in a lovely town called Richmond,
Yeah.
kind of near London.
Yeah.
And I had my children here, and I lived here for 8 years.
Right, okay. And while you were here, you taught, I gather.
I did, yep. I was a elementary school teacher, so that would be Key Stage 2 for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I love teaching. That's why I came to the UK. I was hired to come in as a school teacher at an international school.
All right, so you did your training in Canada.
I did, yeah. So
Yeah.
I have my bachelor's is in education.
Yeah.
I think education was always my calling. And then I went on and did a master's in curriculum studies.
Yes.
I thought, right, curriculum studies degree. I can design curriculum for anything, for needlework, for a
Yeah.
cookery school,
yeah.
for whatever.
Yeah. So you've gone from teaching young children
Right.
to teaching grown-up.
Yes.
how to.
Yes.
But that must have been that's a change of your job, really. I mean, when did your hobby become your new job?
Well, that's interesting because when I was a Key Stage 2 teacher, I was also a teacher trainer. So I
Right.
would train the staff members up on things related to literacy. So I was already used to teaching adults. And then when I went on maternity leave, I thought, you know what? I like teaching adults. I love needlework. How can I combine the two and not teach little kids and raise little kids at the same time? I thought that'd be a bit tricky.
Yeah.
So I just said, right, I'm going to take my passion for needlework and share that love with adults. And they're the willing students, right? Nobody's forcing them to come.
Yeah.
And I started with my friends in the neighborhood and moved up to some local kind of teaching in the coffee shops. And then here I am now with the Crowwork Company.
All right. Well, tell me a bit about how you started in needlework and how did it become such a passion?
Right. I think like many needleworkers, I had a family member. I have an aunt who was an avid cross-stitcher, needle pointer, crowwork. And, I admired her. So whatever she did, I wanted to do too. So, and as a teenager, I picked up some kits they're terrible. I still have them and they're very poorly done. But, that's where my interest started. And I liked creative stuff. I liked making things. So at some point, I decided to come back to the needlework with the fibers, the colors that interested me. And said, right, I'm going to get more into this, get better at this, and make that the thing that I do.
So did that happen while you were teaching? Or did you manage to, when you had your children, did you start to sort of say, well, I'm going to take this more seriously now?
Right. It was actually when I was pregnant, I decided I wanted to be good at handwork. I wanted to be able to create things that could become heirloom items that I could pass on to them. I just thought there's something really special about having something that a parent or a grandparent made and passing that on. So with the skills that I had at the time, I didn't think I would be able to create anything worth hanging on to. So I started taking more classes. I took day classes at the RSN.
Yeah.
I did a lot of self-study, some kits and that kind of thing, the way people get started usually. And then it became, a bigger, kind of all-consuming, as we know needlework can become. And you just, I'm not going to cook, I'm not going to clean, I'm just going to do my needlework. I have a deep love of gold work and shiny things hiding inside of me, and that came out after looking at some pieces in, these beautiful magazines. I saw some goldwork insects and that kind of thing inspired me to make my own and try out these threads that really seemed a mystery to me at first.
Right. So would you say that it's the techniques are very different? I mean, I'm not a stitcher, so I don't really know. But did you have to make your own almost techniques to deal with it?
No, I mean actually, when you start doing goldwork embroidery, all you have to know at first is how to do the couching stitch, which shows up in other techniques. It shows up in canvas work and crewel work. So by learning how to do the couching stitch and then playing with a variety of metal threads, and there are hundreds of metal threads, sizes, colors, shapes, you can create quite interesting textures and designs. And also you can have fun with light play by using padding underneath. So I just started to explore all that and find ways to put it together to make interesting designs.
Right, and I gather you wrote a paper about couching stitch.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
I'm a bit obsessive about that one. Yeah, I wrote a research paper. It was called The Humbly Magnificent Couching Stitch, because it's a very humble stitch, but used well, it can become quite magnificent. And in some very interesting diaper patterns and ornue. So these employ the couching stitch, but they're kind of subcategories of their own. And then there's the historical stitches like underside couching, and then newer variations like Italian shading. So all of this uses the couching stitch, but they all look very different from each other. And I found that fascinating, that you can know how to do one stitch, but if you can use it in different ways, you can create things that look like totally different techniques. Ah,
right. It's interesting. I mean, and you've developed a kind of colour theory as well?
I have, yep. So, at first working with gold, it was more yellow on gold or white on silver that I was sticking with. And then over time, I started taking watercolor classes because I wanted to be able to more beautifully plan out my designs. And then when you start taking watercolor, you learn color theory. And a lot of it is about light play and illumination as well. So through those color theory courses that I was taking, I started to apply that to my gold work. And over time, I was able to learn enough to be able to teach color theory as well and take into consideration how gold and silver reflects and has an impact on color.
Interesting. And when you teach people,
yeah.
Well, what are you trying to, when people are starting off, or even when they're quite experienced,
right.
It still takes a while to get used to particular techniques and things. Do you have an idea of when somebody gets it?
Right.
Is that important to you? Do you actually look for that in
right.
in an individual?
Well, this is where my training as an elementary school teacher applies directly to my work with the adults. As an educator, I'm looking for ways to help the students succeed. So I can feel out a class fairly quickly and see, what are the needs of this person and that person and that person, and they're all different from each other. Even if you've got a group of advanced stitchers or a group of intermediate stitchers or beginner, even within those groups, you've got different needs, and I can usually feel them out and try and find a way to encourage them. And I know who needs over-the-shoulder work and who needs somebody to sit down and demonstrate again, and who just needs a stitch diagram. Versus me talking about it. So that's kind of like, there's an art and a mystery to teaching, to read the clues and find ways to help the student be successful. And then I feel good when they feel good, and I want them to go away feeling happy. So. And
you also do assessment, don't you?
I do. Oh, right. Yes.
How does that feed into
okay.
your work?
Right. So when you say assessment, I was recently certified as a needlework judge.
Yeah.
And I originally took it because I was asked to be a part of a team assessing pieces. And I realized that the assessment process is very much linked to the work I had done in my education degree, for thoughtful assessment and what's going to be meaningful to the student to learn from their piece. So I decided to take a course to learn how to write, meaningful critiques, something that's going to help them grow, just not a repeat of what they actually already know. So I had the opportunity to evaluate, hundreds of pieces and write critiques. And so for me now as a designer, I can put on that hat and think about, well, if this was a piece to be assessed by others, what are the elements and principles of a design that I should be considering, and how might this be observed by others? But as well, how to write thoughtful artist statements to go with your piece, because I'm reading a lot of these artist statements that go along with a lovely piece of embroidery, and I'm seeing who is able to connect their thinking, their design process with their writing and their needlework, and that's just a very interesting combination of skills.
Where do you see, let's go one stage further. What are you currently working on, and where do you see your work going?
Right. This is a bit of a problem with needlework, is there's you look around, every time you go to an art gallery, you come home with so many more ideas of things that you'd like to create. So I've got a little notebook of designs that I want to create, some that are, you know, secretly brewing in my head, and some that are already down on paper. So as for new projects coming up, well, I've got a few goldwork designs in mind. Goldwork is my specialty, so I tend to always make goldwork designs. And I'm still teaching a little bit online, but not as much, because it's just so rewarding to teach in person and really feel that energy, you know, between myself and the student. So I've got some couching related things, some work that has padding. Lately I've been working on a lot of very flat pieces, but I'd like to work on some pieces that have more 3-dimension to them and see how the light play changes when you add volume.
All right.
So nothing specific that I can share, but lots in the works.
So something that comes out of, like, for example, stump work, that kind of, the sort of 3D effects.
Yes.
So, yeah. Oh, right.
Not creepy stump work, though,
No.
like shiny, lovely stump work.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Natalie.
Thank you.